you may know, 50 states make up the U.S., and yet California has accounted for over 30% of the nation's homelessness, as according to 2022. California's homelessness crisis needs to be solved urgently and now. Every day, we see individuals on the street with nowhere to turn. Imagine if that were a loved one or you. At one point in my life, my dad was homeless, and he has explained to me his struggles and why he was put into that situation. Today, I will be talking about what homelessness is and what characterizes it, some of the causes of California's homelessness crisis, and a potential solution to this crisis. So what is homelessness? Well, as according to the Centers for Disease and Control Prevention, people are considered to be experiencing homelessness if they stay in a shelter, live in a transitional housing, or sleep in a place not meant for human habitation, such as a car or outdoors. But this not only affects the lives of individuals, as also mentioned in that same article, almost 1/3 of people experiencing homelessness as a family. In California, this is sadly what many people experience, but it is extremely important to look at to why this is occurring so prevalently. Now, moving on to some of the causes. Many factors contribute to California's homelessness crisis. One, for example, is California's decreasing housing affordability. One of the reasons for the extremely high housing costs, as mentioned in the Stanford University article, Homelessness in California Causes and Policy Considerations, is because of home shortages, as also stated in the same article. For example, San Francisco has added over 38,000 new jobs from 2016 to 2019, but only built 4,500 new housing units, as according to Streetner 2022. Another example for why this crisis is occurring is because of negative stigmas. One especially known is known as NIMBY, or Not in My Backyard. This acronym, according to Britnica, stands as a response by those opposing the location of group homes for people with developmental disabilities or for drug treatment facilities, Kinder 2023. Without these shelters being built, many Californians have nowhere to turn. Is that fair? In addition to this, these institutions, there has been a reported increase in mental health and substance abuse. The increase in substance abuse can be linked to California's current laws and restrictions, as they have been super strict. One specifically affecting homelessness is Proposition 47. This law practically made what was once known as a non-violent property crime, where the value does not exceed $950 into a misdemeanor, as mentioned by Gonica 2022. However, as Streetner argues from the Stanford University article, the law also reduced the number of people going through drug court and being able to access help services to help solve sobriety. Although considering the causes of this crisis is important, considering the solutions are just as essential. Unquestionably, one solution would be to lessen the strict California Act and laws. As previously mentioned, Proposition 47 has negatively impacted this crisis, but another specific example would be the California Quality Act, or CEQA. In the article, Homelessness in California, it states that the CEQA lawsuits can be filed anonymously and by parties attempting to advance an economic rather than environmental agencies, as according to Hernandez 2019. The CEQA can be manipulated by anyone, for example, someone who supports the NIMBY acronym, so you can see why it's important and essential to lessen these acts. As we wrap things up, it's important to consider what homelessness is and what the causes are, whether it's the high housing costs, the negative stigmas that influence whether support systems are being linked, or California's laws or acts that enable mental health and drug abuse to continue. It's also important to consider that all of these have negatively affected the crisis. However, luckily, there are some solutions to solve the crisis that affect the lives of so many. For example, lessening California's laws and acts would allow for more housing affordability, but also allow for the necessary institutions to be built. California's homelessness crisis is still increasing, and many lives are on our hands. If you were in their position, wouldn't you want help?